Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. I'm Bob DeMarco. Coming up, an exciting new release, new images from Who Knives of their V3. In my State of the Collection, we're going to take a look at my first custom chef's knife. It is awesome. And a topic of conversation, we've been meaning to get to this forever. Great knife scenes in movies. And of course, this is beyond Rambo and beyond Crocodile Dundee. That doesn't mean we can't talk about it, but no one, please, no one bring up "That's Not a Knife." I cannot. If I never hear that again, it'll be too soon. I got to be honest. Now, watching the actual movie, watching the actual scene, sure, I still get the thrill. But if anyone else ever says that in my presence, and my brother knows that, and so he goes out of his way. Let's see. Abu Ibrahim, good to see you. I don't know. I saw the IDK, and for a second, I thought it was in German. I was like, oh, let's figure this out. Right, as if. I don't know much about fancy knives, but as far as fights, I absolutely predict the pre-climatic fight scene from V for Vendetta as one of the greatest knife fights in modern cinema. That is on my list. I have some of these I have a pretty long list, and some of them it's just great knife movies. That was one of them because it's been so long since I've seen the movie. I couldn't remember any actual scenes. I could remember visuals, first of him throwing the daggers, but also of him sort of flipping and manipulating the daggers. But it's been so long. So thank you for that. That's greatly appreciated. Dion Page, good to have you here, Dion. Hello, knife junkies and Jim, he says. Well, it's good to have you here, man. Acid Test Kids, good to have you. Applause right back at you. This old sword, Dave, how's it going, sir? So punctuate that with a sip of Java. Good evening, Bob and knife junkies everywhere. Favorite two movies with knife fights are Exposure, top of my list. I also love the knife picking scene. I'm particularly fond of that. If you guys don't know what that is, it's, as Dave says, with Peter Coyote. And I can never pronounce his name, but he is cool. He's one of those dudes that's just cool. Checky Cario. And the Kill Bill knife scene with Uma Thurman and Vivica Fox. That's also on my list. A great one. I remember watching that thinking like, that's not like, that must be Japanese, more Japanese in fighting style. And yeah, great scene. Two beautiful women destroying a kitchen, going after it with knives. Have a good day. I'm sorry. Have a knife day. Good to see you, sir. Good evening, junkies, he says. Well, always a pleasure to have you with us. Will B. Hello, Bob, Jim, and everyone. Hello, Will B. Awesome to have you, as always. It's so funny. Every time I see your avatar, you look so much like someone. Excuse me, a very dangerous someone. Mike Flamian, good to have you here. Greetings, he says. Greetings back at you, sir. Chris, we got Blade Ogre. Hello, all. Well, I saw your loadout this morning, and oh God, was that this morning? I'm pretty sure it was on Instagram, and I can't wait to hear it revealed here tonight. Never Enough Knives 007, good to have you here. Happy Thursday, junkies, he says. Well, happy Thursday to you. Drive Strength, evening, Bob and all. Drive Strength, just won a knife. That's on the wing to him. Anyone else who has won a knife, at this point, you know who you are. I've contacted you through the comments. Please send me your address. And actually, this is something I have to just send it to thenifejunkie@gmail.com. Something is up with bob@thenifejunkie.com. So do that. The Expendables series had some great knives in them. Yes, great knives. But oddly enough, with all of the knife scenes and all the Expendable movies, the first thing I always think of is from the first movie. It's one of the opening scenes. Mickey Rourke sitting in his tattoo shop, and he pulls out a full dress large espada, flips it open and throws it into a dartboard, and of course it buries like 3 inches into the wall. And that's so cool. And actually, now that I'm successfully throwing knives into wooden targets, well, it depends on how practiced I am. I've discovered that when I take a week off and do it all the time, I'm really good at it. And then when I'm have a normal week and I don't only get to do it on the weekends, not so good. But I can see now the light at the end of the tunnel. And like Donnie B all day, who can throw anything, you can kind of learn to throw anything and have it stick. Um, yeah. Anyway, Never Enough Knives 007 says, I have to vote for The Hunted with Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. Yeah, really good movie. I think that was Sayoc Kali they were doing there. Very cool. They had some really cool striking patterns that they were practicing, and then of course making the knife itself out of flint that they found, in the woods. Cool. Ket McNessar, good to have you here. Good evening, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Happy Thursday Night Knives. I love the knife scenes in The Hunted. Yep. And the fact that it, like Exposure, that Dave brought up, is a movie revolving around knife fighting. There needs to be more of that. I think there are some really excellent movies with excellent knife fighting scenes. But you ever see the movie 13 Zametti? It'd be cool to see that, except with knives. Tim Simcoe says, hey, everyone. First of all, hey, Tim, good to have you here with us. I've been watching the John Wick series lately with their microtechs and cold steels. Yeah, the fight with Common, I can't remember his character name, but with Common on the subway, and he has the safekeeper, the dagger from Cold Steel, and John Wick has the microtech, what is it, large, XL Troodon, or combat Troodon. Something I love is that movie is on like permanent rotation on at least one of the channels that I have kind of always. Expendables, John Wick, Predator, Desperado. Okay, wait, let's hold that up for a second. But the scene in 3, right? John Wick 3, where he's running through that, like he's in some antique district and he's running through some old weapons, antique weapons place that just looks like, a place that you dream about. And he's in this room with all these old revolvers, and he takes different revolvers and breaks them apart and puts it together to match a caliber bullet, and he fires one shot and kills a guy and runs out. I love that scene. But then he rounds the corner and there's a hallway full of knives and knife cabinets, and he fights and kills, I don't know, like 10 guys in there, and they're throwing knives. And I mean, that's a hard one to beat. And I think that's probably maybe that's one of the scenes that Tom Richards is thinking of with John Wick. Predator, absolutely. The way each one of those guys had the big, cool machete, and then they each had the what was it called? Life support system, maybe, or is that the one from Commando? But they all had like a survival knife with the hollow handle and the saw back. Awesome. Expendables, yes, a lot of cool Bowie knives in that, and knives designed by Gil Hibben, kind of paring it back, taking some of the fantasy stuff out and going old school. All great suggestions there. I'm sorry, what was it? Was that Tom Richards? I'm sorry, can you go back? Tom Richards, good to have you here, sir. Those are great suggestions. John Smith says, hello, everyone. And I want to say hello to you, John Smith. Hero Sticks, also great to have you here. Evening and cheers all. Excited for tonight. Best live of the week. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. And before we get too ahead of ourselves with movie scenes, I think, Robert, great to have you. I think it just might be time for a pocket check. I love that. Okay, so I'm really excited about today because I've been carrying this knife that, quite frankly, if it weren't a gift, I wouldn't have gotten it. It's just a little bit out of my price range for what it is, but it is pretty awesome. And that's the Northman by Amtac. And what I mean is, it's it's the cost of a Sabenza, and it's harder to justify that in a fixed blade. However, this is from a small maker designed by a former SEAL. This gentleman, I keep forgetting his name, but he's very well known, and I would love to get him on the show to talk about this knife, because I've been lusting after it for quite a while. And then I had the good fortune of introducing my dad to the Jack Carr books, which he loves. And he has really started to get into all the gear that Jack Carr mentions. I've mentioned that before. Hence this knife. That's where this comes from. He got one for me and one for my brother. These both come with an extra sheath, or it's more of a blade cover with a trainer that swaps in and out of this so you can practice. But this is an in-pocket, like dedicated in-pocket fixed blade. You can see it's got this discrete carry concepts clip, but it's mounted, it's permanently fixed here. So this is meant to be submerged in the pocket, and that's it. Like I tried it in the waistband, and it sits too low in the waistband. You really because here's the top of your pants right here. You run the risk as you draw the knife, especially with those serrations, of slicing spare tire or slicing your pants or what have you. So this is definitely in the front pocket. And all that being said, I love it. It's a great way to carry a fixed blade. I know I don't want to say I'm late to the game. I've been aware of this kind of carry, clipped sheaths to the inside of the pocket and that kind of thing. I hadn't taken that step because I like to carry them in my waistband, and carry a folder in the front pocket. But this thing has just, man, it's awesome. I've really trained myself well. I carry carry it tip down, obviously, but edge forward. I find this is a small handled knife. They do make a large version of this, which if you have anything larger than medium hands, I would suggest, because my hands are medium. And as you can see, they're right there. My finger is right there. But in reverse grip, it's perfect. It's perfect. The pinky nestles in there. And that's because you have this extra room to put the top of your hand and that thumb. And anyway, so I draw it like this, and of course I'm not getting in fights with it, so I turn it around and use it. But I find that more convenient and tried and true than the way they suggest, which is having it like this, and then you reach in your pocket and you're doing you have I don't know, it's not as intuitive to me as it is just to grab it in reverse grip. And then if you need it for that purpose, then you have it in your hand for that. If you need it for a less urgent purpose, which is most likely the case, then you just turn it in your hand. A cool thing about this, as I mentioned, designed by a Navy SEAL, that this has some of that spirit in it. And I'm not just talking about its combative nature, which it definitely has, but I'm talking about its concealability and its utility. It has a couple of other features here. It's got a ferro rod right here that you can strike off of the back. These are 90-degree. It's a 90-degree edge there, so you can strike that ferro rod. I haven't done that yet. I want to leave that pristine unless I actually need it. But so a little bit of survival in your pocket there. And then as I was gabbing before, I was opening this up, and this is a small little flap of Velcro padding, and this comes up too, and you can stash a money under there, like a bill or a handcuff key or some small little valuable thing, but it'll be riding in there and clipped to the inside of your pocket. So this thing is awesome. I opted for the serrations due to the size, just to maximize the effect of this blade. And love the serrations. That's M390 blade steel. Reminds me a bit of, I wanted to unearth this just to show you what it reminds me of. It reminds me a lot of this old cold steel Culloden, which is a modern day elongated take on the ski and do. So I had this in my front right pocket, and then I had a couple of other knives with me today. As you may imagine, I had my new Jack Wolf knives, low drag jack, a bullet end jack with an incredible bellied spear point blade. It's got that beautiful, beautiful deep bellied spear point blade, so deep but it's a spear point, meaning the point is in the center between the spine and the belly, and being in the center with such a steep belly, it puts that tip down at the bottom, or where it would be if this were a Warncliffe. But then you have, nasty. Sorry, I didn't clean this one. But then you have all of the downward raking of this straight edge here. That's Ben's word, but I really like it. The downward rake of the, it's like a rakish tilt on your hat. But it's got that nice downward tilt, and that really feeds the material into that belly as you're pulling through. This is a really cool one. I love the shape of the handle. I've never had a bullet end jack, but another classic slip joint shape and pattern from Ben and Jack Wolf Knives. I'm trying to remember what I cut with that. I know I've done some food. I cut an orange with that a couple of days ago, a couple of oranges. Got some for home that no one was eating, so I took them to work. And I was careful not to get the juice in the works, but there's something else on there. I got to get to the bottom of this. Clean it with isopropyl and all of that. Also on me today was the contact, the asymmetrical contact. I felt weird not having a modern locking folder on me, so I put one on me. Even though this was my front right, primary blade today, I put this in my pocket. Also, I actually have sort of tactical pants on. They don't look tactical, but they have some hidden pockets, and this was in one of the hidden pockets. Really like that. This is such a great knife. Perfect utility blade come tactical blade. You turn it around, you've got the perfect angle for a Pikal style blade, with the tip down and then a very stout tip with that triangular point. S35 VN, bronzed titanium frame lock with all the goodies, great action, only $180. And I say only because those prices are creeping up, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, just look at the prices of everything. Every once in a while, they'll threaten some sort of coffee crisis coming. And that makes me freak out because I've thought about that. Like, what if in an apocalypse scenario, of so many things that would be missed, one of them would really would be coffee. I feel like everyone would be extra grumpy. It's like, not only is it the apocalypse, but we ran out of coffee. God, what's next? Garlic? All right, last on me today was, this wasn't on me, but this was riding with me. And basically, this will take care of a state of the collection bit right here. But I had my new OS 10A Voyager XL clip point. So now my Voyager XL series is complete. I once had this in the Tonto in OS 8. I gave them away to two friends because I'm just such a great guy. Actually, the reason was I felt guilty because I bought the Recon XL in clip and the Recon XL in Tonto, and I thought, geez, it's wasteful to have so many large knives if I'm not gonna. And obviously my philosophy has evolved positively since then. So I had to go back and get all of the Voyagers. I'll show those off in a few minutes. But yeah, I got all the Voyagers, and what a great man! If Cold Steel can do any blade shape, it is definitely a Bowie. Now we all know they're known for the Americanized Tonto and basically inventing that and bringing it to the fore. And if they didn't, they may as well have, because they popularized it that much. But Bowies, they have so many different clip points across their entire catalog, and they're all awesome. I love them. I love their blade shapes. All right, that's what I was carrying. What were you carrying? Let me know. Drop it in the comments below. And then I do have to mention, I keep forgetting about this knife, and that's kind of a good sign, especially for a neck knife. But again, on me today, I threw this on. I can never remember what it's called. The Countertack 2. It is awesome, this little thing. And by the way, it throws not so bad, except that point is sort of wedgy. So you really have to power it in there. I didn't have Cobra on my list. I'm putting Cobra on with that knife, that crazy spiked knuckle duster, curvy knife. Good pull there, Robert. Brankuski. I think. I don't know, Robert. Let me know if you could phonetically spell it. I like to know how people's names are pronounced. Cobra, going right on the list. Great one. Sylvester Stallone. I mean, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, both knife lovers, both collectors. But I think that Sylvester Stallone's collection goes far beyond movie knives. I know he's got a lot of original Gil Hibbins and other things. Bruce Levering, good to have you here, Bruce. Ooh, that's cool. It's in your aorta. If you remove it, you will bleed out. Yeah, I love that. I love that. He's so good, man. He's so good. He could just right in the aorta. I'm doing you a favor. Consider that a professional courtesy. And then he gets off the train. So awesome. Kevin Moore, good to have you here, Kevin. Evening, junkies. Howdy, Bob and Jim. Hoping all have had a great week. Looking forward to a great Thursday Night Knives. Yes. Well, Thursday Night Knives, yes, indeed, but also Friday for Hawaiian Shirt Friday. Don't think I've forgotten. Cam, how's it going, Cam? Good to have you. Howdy, Bob, Jim, fellow junkies. John Wick 2 with the Microtech is one of my favorite knife fight scenes. Which one is that? Is that the one we're talking about? I get them all mixed up in my head now. But which one has the one in the museum with all the guys and they're just throwing and they're real close range? And then which one is the one on the subway? I think those are the same one with Common. Aberdeen Blades, good to have you here, Aberdeen. Howdy ho, junkies of knives. Chakabra. Yeah, Ohio boy saying that sounds kind of ridiculous. Hero Sticks, Born Identity 1, when Matt Damon gets attacked in the French apartment. That's funny. I was thinking of that scene, and I was also thinking of the one in Born Supremacy, also in someone's house. I think he ends up using a toaster to blow up the house, but he fights, and in both of those, he uses a magazine rolled up, and that's one thing we do in the training I do. You basically roll up a magazine real tight, and it's like having a little stick, and you can jam with it and poke with it and stab with it and whack with it. It hurts like hell. You can do a lot of damage with a magazine, especially with the spine on the outside. Weston Probst, good to have you here, Weston. You are a winner, sir, and I left it in the comments on the video 2 supplementals back, but you won one of the knives. So get in touch. Let me know your address, please. John Smith says, in the movie Hannah. Oh, yeah. With the Australian guy whose name I always forget, but think is cool, who played yeah, I know who this is. Not the show. There's a knife fight towards the end that is absolutely vicious. I can't remember, but I remember loving that movie, thinking that was so good. Oh, Eric Bana is in that. Blade Ogre says, my 2 knife movies are Lockback in the... Oh, yes. The Lockback in the Edge. That's on my list for... there's a subset of movies that I'll tell you about. The Edge and Tom Brown Tracker in The Hunted. There's a scene in The Hunted where he throws the knife and it creates a gigantic hole in the tree. I love that. But The Edge, the movie The Edge, that's the one with Alec Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins, and they're being stalked by a grizzly. And by the way, I have heard that grizzlies are very smart and do that kind of stuff. But anyway, in The Edge, that goes into the subcategory of small knife saves the day, and there are a couple of those. Puss in Boots, the new one. Apparently, my wife and daughter said, "Hey, this one." LA Confidential, Falling Down, has a Bally song, saves his life, saves the day when it looks like everything's about to go south. Professor EDC, good to have you here, sir. Bob, Jim, fellow Blade brothers, hope everyone is doing well. Well, I'm doing great. We're talking movie knives, or not movie knives, but knife movies, and great scenes in movies with knives. Bruce says the slow blade penetrates the shield. Oh, Dune. Is that from the book, the old one or the new one? I haven't read the book. Weirded out by the old one because I saw it when I was like 12 and really liked the new one. I'm told I should read them by my wife. She read them all. She loves all that stuff. I don't know if I could get into it, honestly, because here's the problem. I have a few minutes to read before I pass out at night. And it's just what happens. So it would take me literally forever. Then so book on tape. That's how I read Moby Dick. That's how I read it. Okay. Anyway, Hero Stick says that Predator moment when the Native or First Nations brother stands on the bridge with nothing but the giant serrated survival knife. Yeah. And he cuts the back. He uses the swedge to cut his chest to yeah. So awesome. That movie not only has legs, but the older I get, the more I'm like, man, there's something to that movie. I don't know. That's a very good movie. I mean, something to that idea of um things beyond what we know, whether it's aliens coming down or things, just around us that we can't see. I don't know. I love that movie. And every time I see it, which is frequently, I love it more. John Smith says also the movie The Long Riders. Whoa, which one is that? Had that awesome Bowie knife fight with the ribbon. Is that the one where they're biting the ribbon and they can't it's in a bar and they can't that ribbon keeps them, together so that they can't leave the fight. There's the one that I love is Magnificent Seven, where James Coburn is snoozing and just trying to catch some Z's. He was so cool, man. And he had his hat down and guys hassling him. I can't remember what about, but he gets up and the guy challenges him to a duel and he just uses his Italian switchblade and throws it and sticks it in his chest and the guy immediately dies from it. I love it. Aberdeen Blade says Devo Mash reverse tuxedo in the pocket for me. That is a beautiful knife, man. They are killing it. The Mash and the Stout right now, man, awesome. Dion Page says Recon 1 Tonto in the pocket, and this is day 3 of the SRK 3V, trying to profile the absolute worst grind I've ever seen on a blade. GSM QC sniffs goat tails. Funny you should say that, Dion. I'm wondering, did you buy that on Amazon? Because when I get a cold steel from an authorized dealer, it's always fine. But twice, maybe 3 times, but twice that I can think of right offhand, I've had issues with cold steel knives, fixed blades that I've gotten off of Amazon. And so I'm convinced that and even when it said that the dealer was Cold Steel itself, so I'm convinced Cold Steel takes all their lemons and sends them over to Amazon, where if someone returns it, I don't think it's much skin off their back. I could be wrong about that, but it's just a suspicion. Bruce says medium sheepdog non-flipper in my pocket. I would like to have one, but I just won't get one because I have the Towser K, which I never use or carry, but I love those 2 knives and feel like I need some cleaver representation in my folder, besides the V2 cleaver from Off Grid. Izzy, good to see you here, sir. Evening, Bob, Jim, and fellow junkies, and also evening to your husky. I just saw Ridiculousness has 2 episodes. I've seen shocking amount of ridiculousness, but they have 2 episodes where they have funny husky videos, category with funny husky videos, and man, they just seem to be like real characters. Never Enough Knives 007 says Cold Steel 4max Scout, awesome choice. Boker Kalashnikov auto clip point. I have that one. That's not what I mean, but I was just playing with it before. It's the big clip point, and Lavender Pants sent that to me. Whatever happened to Lavender Pants? I haven't seen him anywhere. He was a cool dude, or is a cool dude. And BMG Custom. Oh, nice. I just was sorry about that. I was just oh my God. I need to calm down. I was just with my Quaken before examining the extremely thinly ground 3V on this. He does such awesome work. I really dig this knife. It fits very, very tightly in the sheath, which I've never thought to loosen up, just because the sheath looks so good and fits so nicely, especially over those laces, that I've kept it. Hey, Jim, there was a comment right before that I missed. Can I see? Weston says 48 watching and only 16 thumbs up. Come on, people. That's because everyone else is seething in anger. Professor EDC says, "Oh, and by the way, thank you, Weston. I appreciate your looking out." Um, Professor says, "Oh heck yeah, that Jack Wolf Knives low drag is just sweet. I've been carrying mine as well as the Strider. Oh yes, I noticed that. Uh, that's a cool knife. What? How do you call this? 0.7 AR or 7.5 AR, as well as my Leatherman Wingman. Yeah, that Strider that's impressive. Um, yeah." Very nice. Drive Strength says, almost forgot my everyday that doesn't change, the Craig Douglas Shivworks blade. The clinch pick, that is a cool one. Of course, that's on my list. They have a clinch pick and a clinch pick V2, and I think the change they made is very interesting. The the clinch pick V1 had an egg-shaped handle, egg-shaped kind of in all dimensions, but on the V2, they maintained the egg-shaped profile, but flattened out the sides to stop the rolling in hand, which is an issue you always hear like Doug Markida talking about on Forged in Fire. If the handle is too round, it'll roll in hand, and you'll lose the orientation of that edge. So Blade Ogre says, carrying the SC4 in S35 VN. Very nice. Bradford paring knife. That is cool. Okay, so that's one on your picture. That was this morning on your picture that I zoomed in on. I was like, what is that? From afar, I was like, the logo looks like the Bradford logo, but I didn't recognize it. And it kind of looked kitcheny, but it also looked very tactically to me. So I zoomed in on that one. White River Backpacker Pro in high vis. The GEC 29 Stockyard Whittler, that's in Molasses Bone. Is that right? I always say that, and you're like, no, it's in this other one. Rosecraft Applejack, Ontario Rat 3, Tops Bull Trout, ZT0640 Emerson, nice, and Devo Growler, nice. That bull trout. Oh, I know which one that is. I know what the bull trout is. Very nice. And your Emerson, don't you have a special grind on that, or am I thinking of someone else? Blade Ogre with his 9 knives. I think that's awesome. Any experience with APOC? APOC, Asian Pacific. What the? I'm waiting for my survival Yatagan. Ooh. I swear I don't have a problem buying knives and can't stop at any time. Sure you can, John. So can I. But wait, I'm sorry. Hey, James, good to have you here, sir. Thank you, Jim. Okay, what is that? What is that? What is APOC? Remind me. But a survival Yatagan. I love the Yatagan. And actually, I don't have one here except in this Cold Steel Vaquero. I always assumed that when the Vaquero blade shape came out with the El Hombre way back in the day, and then the Vaquero before they brought this into the Voyager line, this blade shape, I always assumed it was based loosely on the Navaja. And then I realized later with the Espada, that was the Navaja. This, I come to learn through one of the Cold Steel videos recently done with the Stickman guy and also Lynn Thompson. Lynn Thompson talks about designing this knife, and he says this was based on the Yatagan, this blade shape. And so I looked it up in one of my books, and yes, indeed, I can see how that is the case. Keeps that point at the center line as if it were a dagger, but gives you a real deep recurve with a wicked belly. So you get like 3 different really excellent cutting surfaces, and then that recurve, of course, just accelerates whatever it cuts through. So survival Yatagan sounds very cool and way up my alley. Dave says, today's carry Bastinelli Red V2. That's a cool knife. My buddy Ian dropped his on the tip. He's been hanging out with me too long. Kaiser SLT John Gray design. That's a cool one. And of course, the Night Horse in Thai frame lock. Oh God. Yeah. So my dropping my Night Horse on the basement floor, I went through a very thick carpet and then through 2 layers of thick liner underneath it and then reached the concrete floor. I decided I will not be getting the titanium version of this. I will just get a couple more of these because I really love the liner lock G10 version, and I'm just I got the kit. I drop stuff. I got butterfingers when it comes to knives with these kind of points. So I just decided I'll get 3 of these and still be at half the cost of the titanium. That's what's so amazing. I cannot believe how inexpensive this knife is. At 14C28 and contoured sculpted G10, awesome, amazing action, stout build, dainty tip, beautiful design from Dirk Pinkerton, a 4-inch plus modern Navaja, 30 freaking bucks. I can't believe that. I almost feel like I can feel the human anguish that went into making this for 30 bucks. But man, what a deal and what a great knife. Mike Flamian says Randall Model 14 attack. So cool. Shirogorov F95T. I need that in my life. That one in particular with the Gen 4 and others. I believe that's the one that has the micarta inlays. So classy and clean and beautiful, but I've never had one of those. Shirogorovs. Jay McConnell says, first of all, I say to you, hello, Jay McConnell. Good to have you here. Even and Bob, Jim Junkies today I carried a blacked out ProTech Mordax. A laid back jack. That's, I think, my all-time fave. Hanging out with my girls too much. Well, no, that's not true, but taking on their language. Cap. Still don't know what that means. A laid back jack. That is my favorite of the Jack Wolf knives, I believe, with natural micarta. That sounds lovely. And a Bark River UL Bushcrafter in 3V curly maple. Ooh, that's beautiful. You know, wood handles have been getting to me this past year, and the idea, I love ironwood and cocobolo, but curly maple, ooh, that is gorgeous. And anything burl is nice. I'm even liking the colored, like the purple burls like this. Not just purple, but the colored burls, really cool. Brancheski. Oh, thank you, Brancheski. Okay, Brancheski. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Will B says Grimsmo Norseman, Ferrum Forge, Alarus. Okay, Ferrum Forge, Alarus, Kaiser. So Will B, Will, I'm not sure if you've always been like this, but I've been noticing recently, you know, that there is no lack of knives on you on any given day. And frequently you're rocking the Norseman. Okay, Grimsmo Norseman, Ferrum Forge Alarus, that's a model I'm unfamiliar with. Kaiser Begleiter XL, Winterblade Factor. This is like Spyderco Ronin 2. I have a Kydex sheath from, oh, very nice. Oh, I'd like to see that. See someone else's work rather than make my own. Riot Exo. And Olight Baton and i5T Plus and a Karis Bolt V2 pen. Okay, so let's take a. This is like a semester at Yale here. This is amazing. Riot Exo, the Winter Blade Co. Factor, and Grimsmo. Dude, this is. I was about to say, what happens if you get mugged? But I know what happens if you get mugged. Someone walks away with a lot of cuts. But man, what a loadout. Beautiful. But I'm especially fascinated by the Factor. I had a chance to check out Jared and Karen Eves at Blade Show, and it blew me away. That thing is pretty awesome. Even for a guy who's not crazy about EDC only style blades, that thing is awesome. Carried the Agent Orange Peel, good to have you here, sir. Carried the Kubi Momentum today. No, wait, that's next week. That's right, I got that one on the wing today. Michael Morgan says, and that's got the camo G10. I'm liking camo G10 again. Michael Morgan, good to have you here, Michael Morgan. Spyderco Shaman in S30V. Who uses S30V anymore? No, I'm just kidding. The green micarta and the QSP Hedgehog. Green micarta and QSP Hedgehog, 14C plus green micarta. That Shaman, I'm Shaman, especially with green micarta, and I'm assuming a black blade. I don't know why. I think that's because that's what I want to see. But yeah, I do. I at some point I would like to get that Shaman. I know I've been saying that for a long, long time. But yeah. Anyway, I got my first S90V blade in the Jack Wolf Knives knife. That's the first one out the gate. I guess I said I thought it was something about maybe there's a shortage, but people were of M390, but apparently people were asking for another steel, and so that's cool that Ben obliged and found and went with S90V. I look forward to seeing how it. There's no way on earth I'm going to be able to tell the difference between this and the M390 of the other blades. Really, there's no way, because they're so sharp and the geometry is so thin that it's 6 1/2 dozen the other to me. But I'm happy and psyched to have an S90V blade. Anyway, that's the steel snob keeping up with the Joneses side of me. Hero Stick says today's carry, Brian Brown Jaeger M in brown micarta. That sounds lovely. And Mokutai accents. And my little Kaiser Bowie in brown micarta to match. That little Kaiser Bowie, also designed by Dirk Pinkerton. That dude's a master. He is not only a master behind the grinder, but his designs are just to a knife. They are awesome. Oh, that's right. Honey Bear 85. First of all, good to have you here, sir. I forgot. He's one of our few Lamia owners. He's got the Steingraber Performance Knives Lamia, the Bark River PSK EDC PSK Survival Knife Survival Knife, and the Raylight Pineapple. How goes it, everyone? He says, well, it's going great here, and I'm assuming anyone else who's got time to sit and listen and watch, life must be going all right. Tom Cruise with the Sabenza in collateral. That is so funny that you say that. First of all, Shane, great to have you here, Edgy American. Check out his channel. He's got an awesome channel and has begun a podcast. Some great conversation there. Go check out Shane on Edgy American. But Tom Cruise with the Sabenza, I just learned today that was the knife he was carrying. Perfect for him with the white hair and the suit. Classy assassin. Great knife. Here's another one I would recommend if you are a classy assassin and want to change it up. How about that? Yes, a double-edged folder. What the hell is this called? The Antimatter by Arcane Designs. People are yelling at their screen. Arcane. James Moore says, how about that knife fight at the end of Under Siege? That's on my list too. Great knife fight. There is a shot though that is hilarious in that knife fight where I'm slowly pulling out all the Voyagers and putting them over there, but where there's a shot and you see Tommy Lee Jones's POV of Steven Seagal, and he's all. And every time I see that, it makes me crack up. Not that I would want to fight him in his heyday. No doubt he was a badass, but there's so much about him that is just, kind of might make you chuckle. There is actually, and I know this is, I can't remember the name, but there is a very, very funny channel on YouTube that I happened upon, and the guy, I think he mostly does Steven Seagal movies, which there are a shocking amount of Steven Seagal movies out there. JN, what up? What up, BOD? What up, Jim? What up, y'all? Good to have you here, man. There's a shocking amount of movies that Steven Seagal wrote and produced and starred in that went straight to video or straight to streaming or whatever. And this guy, you can find it on YouTube easy enough by searching. He will take 12 to 15 minutes and go through like kind of not act by act, but like sort of scene by scene, a Steven Seagal movie and just break it down. And it's hilarious because Steven Seagal's movies are hilarious. Weston Probe says, thanks for the giveaway. I sent an email. Excellent, man. I will get that I'll get that in the mail to you tomorrow. That's part of my Goodfellas day tomorrow. Ket McNeshart says, today I have my beautiful Maloney Knives Nesmuk. That sounds beautiful. Turkey Run Knife Company Talon. Ooh, I don't know what that is. Giant Mouse Jutland. I love the shape of that clip point. The Gitano by Lion Steel, another beautiful clip point blade evocative of the Navaja. And the micro dick pic from Wingard Wearables. I can't say that without laughing, especially when you put micro in front of it, just because micro is such an extreme void. Let's see. Oh, Nomadic Adventures. Good to have you here, sir. I had a sick foster. Used to use that. I had a sick foster used to use that method, rolled up paper as it left no as it left no marks, and we were as foster kids had zero credibility. Holy shit, that sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I have heard that with telephone books too. That's rough, dude. Cam said, had the traditional pocket knives Ohio River Jack and my Kaiser Sheepdog in 10V. So what's 10V like, Cam? To your question about John Wick, number 2 with the Microtech was the subway scene. Number 3 was the museum. Okay, it's all a big wash. It's all a big wash. There's a new one coming. I don't even know what number it is. I'm just excited. Brandon Sutton said, Under Siege had a decent knife fight. Agreed. So when talking about, how about this? Hey there, kitty cat. Nosy fella, you nosy fella. Nosy fellas lose their nose. Next time I cut it off and feed it to my goldfish. Something like that. I got it wrong, but you know what that is. Someone's got to put that in the comment. Let me know. Let me know that you know that. Next time I cut it off and feed it to my goldfish. Honey Bear 85 says Eastern Promises in the Bathhouse. That is a crazy. That's going on the list. Yes, with the carpet knife, the big curved carpet knife. Eastern Promises. Yes. What a good movie that was. So was History of Violence, and those were both David Cronenberg movies, which is odd. Just because I always knew him before that for sort of psychological horror kind of stuff. Nomadic Adventures says, read the backstory how Google had to change the search engine results for Puss in Boots. Okay, that sounds funny. Oh, wait, there was something else recently that came up too, and it was like my daughter was about to search something, and I was like, no. Try this, and it would have gone immediately, like it would have been bad immediately. Robert says, best knife fight scene ever, the Raid 2 final knife scene in the kitchen. Unbelievable. I was going to say the Karambit fight in Raid 1 was really good. I never saw the Raid 2. But that Karambit fight in the Raid, the first one was awesome. And then speaking of Karambit fights, excellent one at the end of Taken on the boat when he finally gets on the boat and rescues his daughter. And all the fighting scenes in that were choreographed by this guy Fred Mastro, and that's the kind of stuff I'm studying with my friend Ian, who is certified under that guy Fred Mastro. It's all very direct and short, sharp, shock, violent kind of stuff. And it's really fun to do. I'm not out there on the streets getting in street fights, but it's fun to train. And the knife scene, that Karambit knife fight scene in that movie was awesome, I thought. And then it was just so great when he killed that guy. It's that movie in particular. Like, I always love it when the bad guy dies, of course, but that movie in particular where this guy's daughter is kidnapped. Every body he drops is a thrill for me in that movie. Kevin Moore says, carried the QSP Locust in Blue Micarta. QSP does the Blue Micarta very well. And as far as I remember, I think they were the first, at least the first that I remember, with the Penguin. Victorinox Cadet in Blue Alox, very nice. Wingard, I need to get one of those back in the collection. Wingard Wearables Quill XL, very nice. Pete's Pirate Life Titanium Kraken V2 coin, and Urban EDC Supply Brass Pocket Egg, fidgety AF, no doubt. Kevin and Kev from Kevin Johnson of Lefty EDC loves the fidgety things. He collects some pretty high end fidget. I don't want to call them toys, but what do you call them? Fidget gizmos. Edgy American says the Bally song scene from Streets of Fire. Whoa. Okay, I didn't see Streets of Fire, but I remember hating the theme song to it at the time because it was a long video and I was just trying to see Run to the Hills, and we didn't have recording back then, you know. I guess we had a VCR, but um uh and I just remember that the theme song, which was very popular for a while, was a long video and I didn't like it and I just wanted to get beyond it. But Streets of Fire, that's a good one to look up. I know my wife likes that one. She also mentioned the Legend of Billie Jean, but I don't remember it, and I don't know if there was any knives in it. Inglorious Bastards. What am I thinking? Yes, I love that. I love everything about it. I love that movie. Um, you know, very many great knife scenes come to mind. But possibly my favorite, and it's very quick and it's not, but it's the scene where it's before, the big scene in Inglorious Bastards in the basement where they're all kind of undercover or pretending to be Nazis and infiltrating, and then they're busted and it blows up into this horrible massacre scene. Well, the scene before that, when they're all kind of readying themselves for this, the German guy who is working with the Americans is sharpening his dagger, and he's not sharpening, he's stropping it. He's just sitting on a cot, and he's got his leather belt wrapped around his foot and pulled tautly, and he's just slowly stropping it. And the British guy comes in and he says, "I'm gonna have to need you to remain calm," and he says, "Don't I look calm?" or something like that. Very, very cool knife scene. Cool dude. Extraction also has a good knife fight. Yeah, right in the street with a karambit and a straight blade. That is a good scene. It's with Thor. I like Thor. He's a good actor. I think he's funny. He's compelling, and he's physical. So when you see him do this knife fight, you're like, yeah, this guy could kick your ass for sure. Michael Morgan says, "What's her face in True Detective season 2?" Yeah, McAdams, Rachel McAdams. She's got a Cold Steel. What the hell is that thing called? I have one of those that's got the double current, like you put the 2 rings, and one's for your pinky and one's. I never liked that aspect of it. I do have it. It was a gift, a groomsman gift, from a good friend. I can't remember the name of that one, but it's the double karambit, and she has the one with the hawk bill, and she keeps it in her boot, which I thought was actually a pretty good place for that knife because it's very thin and very light. But she has a whole bunch of other things, and then someone else in that has an Emerson CQC7 that he uses to pry open a window. Anyway, Professor EDC says, "Love the scene in The Patriot where Mel Gibson uses the knife and the tomahawk." Yes, sir. As well as those scenes in Last of the Mohicans. Great book and movie. Yes, those are great. Those are great, actually. Patriot, Mohicans. Shane says, "The Cold Steel in Last House on the Left." Don't know that movie and don't know the Cold Steel in it, but Last House. Wait a second. Was it in the ad? Was it the does it have an upswept Tonto? And man, they had a very expensive signature series in the very early 2000s, late 90s. And they had four knives that came out of that. And the first version of the Black Talon, now they have the Black Talon 2 with G10, but the first version came out in this series and it had, polished G10 and aluminum bolsters. What the hell was that? I think I know which one you're talking about, Shane. I think I do, because it was in the ad and I was like, wow, they put that. It was like called the Nightshade or something. It had a name like that. Gangs of New York. Yes, indeed. Tom Richards. Great knife fight scenes. Yes. The Butcher. I don't know that one. Yeah, Bill the Butcher in that is awesome. Last of the Mohicans, Winkler knives and tomahawks, no doubt. If you haven't listened to or watched the Winkler interview I did with Daniel Winkler 2 months ago or so. An hour with him was awesome. He was talking all about the movie stuff he's done and Last of the Mohicans. That is very interesting. That guy started out, Daniel Winkler started off as a reenactor himself and started making knives for himself and his buddies. And look at him now. Never Enough Knives 007 says, I'm getting reminded of a lot of great movie knife action tonight. Maybe have to watch a few of these classics again soon. No doubt you do. And I must emphasize that if you haven't seen Exposure, look it up. Try and find it. It was one of those movies, kind of like Heavy Metal, that I think languished in like rights hell. And it was hard to get here for a long time. But now with the internet, Have a Knife Day says Fury. I think that was such a great movie, but I'm trying to remember what. I think it was rehandled Bark River Bowie. Oh, each of you junkies owes me 100 Nazi scalps. Yeah, okay. That's funny. Before this episode is over, that's not Fury. That's Inglorious Bastards, and that was a rehandled. I believe it was a Remington, but it was a Remington from Mike Stewart, designed by Mike Stewart. Mike Stewart's the guy responsible for the Bark River Shining Mountain Bowie. Before that, the Blackjack with the same blade shape, and before that, I believe it was the Remington, or maybe it was Winchester. But yes, I saw a video by a guy, Cowboy Sebop, I believe is his name, and he explained the whole thing. So I'm assuming he's right. He sounded like he knew. Me with Knives, good to have you here. Me with Knives, old school Cold Steel Tonto in Red Dawn. That old school Cold Steel Tonto was also in a movie called Blind Fury with Rutger Hauer. I'm just remembering that. Fun fact, Patrick Swayze asked the director, could he use his Tonto for the scene? Oh, cool. No kidding. Yeah, a lot of actors out there dig knives. Oh, wait. Jim, go back to the last comment, please, so I could remember what I was saying. It's kind of like walking back into the room you were in. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Hang on. Old school Cold Steel in Red Dawn. And then I mentioned Rutger Hauer. And then well, it'll come to me. But I love the scene in Platoon with the push dagger from Cold Steel. Remember that? Great scene. Matthew Hall, good to have you here, Matthew. New subscriber, thumbs up, like number 25. Well, thank you very much, Matthew. It's appreciated. I don't know. I found you from YouTube Shorts, Big Blade and Gun fan. Happy to have seen your stuff. Do you own any original Bowies? Now, by original, do you mean like old historical? The answer is no. However, I have what my brother thought was historical, and it's actually, after doing some research, I'm pretty sure it's not, but it's a knife from Georgia, from Macon, Georgia. The name is on the other side, and it is an historical Bowie that gets copied a lot and then sort of counterfeited as historical. So I think that's maybe what I have, but I don't have any originals, but I got a lot of cool ones, and growing. Here's an original, meaning custom. What do you want to call it? Loveless sub-hilt fighter that I had made by Matt Chase of Hogtooth Knives. This was my 50th birthday knife. Man alive, is this thing amazing. This is, I get called out on the duel. This is what I bring. So you say original. This to me feels original because it was all custom. Anyway, thank you. Thanks for coming. I'm glad the shorts got your attention, because I got a lot of big knives that don't get seen too much on tabletop because they're too big to show. So it's great to go out back, or just, I don't know, fool around with them, and glad to see people like them. Blame Dexter, good to see you here. Blame Dexter. kind of cheating with the topic, but in Star Wars, the Clone Wars, and the Bad Batch, Commander Cody Hunter and Wrecker have all used vibroblades, knives that vibrate rapidly to devastating effect. It's kind of interesting. It's like there was a show that my wife and I watched on Sci-Fi Channel that took place in the future after some alien apocalypse, and we were living amongst aliens. And that culture, that alien culture, valued the blade, but their blades were like little lightsabers, I think. Edgy American says, Benchmade Reptilian in the new Jack Reacher series. Oh, yeah, that's what it is. I was trying to remember what he had, because in the book, well, at least in the first book that the Jack Reacher series is based on, he has a 6-inch, he has an impossibly dimensioned Italian stiletto. I think when, what's that guy's name? The guy who writes those books was writing it, he got his dimensions wrong. Because he said the blade was 7 inches, but it was overall like 9 inches. I can't remember exactly what it was, but anyway, he had an immense Italian stiletto in the book, and in the movie, to go from that to this like Griptilian was kind of a jump. But then again, in the series, he gets that knife from a store, I believe, and in the book, he gets it off a dead guy that he kills. So, Brandon Lee in The Crow uses SOGs. Dude, Brandon, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. I should see that again. But SOGs, like the SOG in Terminator 2, where she's writing, scratching "No Fate" into the picnic table before she decides to go kill what's his name, the dude who starts Cyberdyne Systems to sort of preemptively stave off the apocalypse. And then she sticks it in the table and goes on her mission. That always, like, what? Like, I know what's his name? Cameron wanted to show off the knife, but that was so stupid. No one's going to do that. No one is going to do that. She goes out with all the, shotgun on her back and an M4 and a pistol and a drop holster, but she's going to take her knife and stick it in the table and walk away moodily. That's not going to happen. But anyway, at least it gives you a chance to soak in the absolute beauty of a SOG Bowie. That's one of my favorite blade shapes of all time. Tom Richards says, been rocking my Wander Tactical Barracuda horizontal carry for the last few days. Wander Tactical's got some really impressive stuff. They've only come on my radar very recently. Maybe it was at Blade Show 2022. I'm trying to remember where they first got on my radar. But that sounds great. I try to make Scout Carry work on the front, not on the back. I don't know why, but Apex Grind, good to have you here, Apex, watching from Long Beach. What's up, guys? Well, how's it going over there? Are you surfing? Like that's my impression of California, is that it's footloose and fancy free over there, though I know right now it is not. So I hope you are doing well. I hope you are doing well there with all the flooding and the crazy weather. Let's see. Me with Knives. Will Smith used a Benchmade in I Am Legend. Will Smith used a Spyderco Police stainless steel model in this lame movie we watched. God, I don't even know. It was like a modern take on Enemy Mine, and it just sucked so badly. Hannibal uses a Spyderco in one of the movies. I believe he uses a civilian, with that nasty S curve, or a Harpy. I'm pretty sure it's a Harpy, the smaller one. That's just a hawkbill, not the S curve. That's the cool thing about the civilian, that S curve blade and the cold steel black Talon, is that you have a super bellied blade and then you have a hawkbill. You have, all you need is a Tonto tip on there somewhere, and you've got like everything possible that you would need. Acid Test Kid says, there was a Netflix animated short that flashed a Strider SNG for a few scenes. No fight, just someone using it. That's pretty cool. Some knife nerd out there is an animator too, and he's like, I'm not just putting any knife in this movie. Oh, by the way, that season 2 of True Detective, there was also an SNG in there somewhere. Who carried it? Someone had it. Oh, no, that was Terminal List. Sorry. Anyway, John Smith says, gotta rep the OG knife guy MacGyver. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Original and remake. I wasn't aware there was a remake. I did see a quick clip of the original MacGyver, and he has, I believe he had it by the blade, but he had his trusty Swiss Army knife, and he like lightly throws it, and it like embeds itself in a wooden post, like it was shot out of a cannon. Pretty cool stuff. Shane says, does the Spidey police in the Beastie Boys sabotage video count? It sure does. It's on my list, actually. I was unaware of that one until just today, actually. It's been a long time since I've seen that video. James Moore says, I'm hoping for a better duel in the next Dune film because Paul and Fade Rautha, sorry, then when Kyle MacLachlan got to use his Chris knife on Sting. Oh, that's right. I remember Sting was the creepy dude. Let's see. Apex Grind says carrying the Tops Mini Scandi and Protec TR5. That TR5 is cool. I've always thought that was a nice looking knife. Because you also got, yes, I just mentioned that. Great. Me with Knives says the Cold Steel Push Dagger in Platoon. Great knife, great scene. And I remember seeing that in the theater, and I was with my brother. So I must have been, it came out I must have been like, I don't know, 12 or 13. And I remember being like, what is that? Like, it's coming out of his fingers. Like, I just remember thinking, push dagger. What? Like, I didn't know what to call it, but that was my first exposure to it. And I liked it. Dion Page says, Midway sale, $109 sheath scared the blade. Scarred. Okay, wait. Midway sale, $109. Sheath scarred the blade, sent it back, waited 2 months, and got a crap grind. Then good, this is Cold Steel, and got a worse grind. Holy crap. I should have kept the first with the gouging sheath. Yeah, that the gouging sheath thing is I gotta say, and I'm not trying to make excuses for Cold Steel, but that has always been a problem. My Laredo Bowie that I got in like 2007 or 8 immediately scratched up the blade. That's one of the reasons why I immediately patinaed it, to kind of hide that. And luckily that patina works beautifully on that blade, makes it look like an old cowboy knife. But I got my brother the Arkansas toothpick for Christmas, and I before I sent it to him, I showed it off here, and I put it in the sheath once, and I pulled it out, and I was like, oh my God, one time it scratched the blade. And it's not from anything that I could, like, it's not like it's scratched against the chape or the throat and all the metal stuff. So, I don't know what that was all about. But yeah, that sucks, dude. I guess I'm very glad that I have a lot of pre-GSM stuff, and then move forward cautiously with the holes in my collection. Like Dave just got a Talwar. I need to get an XL Talwar. Spyderco Police in Training Day. What a great movie. Hey, Mark Ridgewell, good to have you here, man. What a great movie that is. And yes, the Spyderco Police in that. Big Trouble in Little China. He's got the double-edged Gerber. What was that Gerber called? Gerber dagger. Think everyone here is a knife junkie, says Nomadic Adventures. I think you're right. What about the alien scene with the Gerber Mark II? That Gerber Mark II shows up in a lot of movies because it's such a good-looking, beautiful dagger. But the scene, do the knife thing, Bishop, and Bishop puts his hand over Bill Paxton's hand. Oh, okay. All right. I'm putting a bookmark on Adrian Brody because I don't want to forget this point. If I do, and I say, what was I talking about? Someone please come back and say, Adrian Brody, old man, you were going to talk about Adrian Brody. But first, let me get to this. In Predators, Adrian Brody with the Steel Eagle. Yep. I think it was a Steel Eagle. The Anaconda is the recurve, and the Steel Eagle is the Tonto, and I'm pretty sure it was the Tonto, but I thought that was so cool. Okay, so Adrian Brody. And he's not directly guilty. It's Spike Lee, but Adrian Brody is the actor who does the bad thing. So it's in the movie Summer of Sam, which is a relatively good movie. I remember the summer that Son of Sam was killing people. And I was visiting it was in New York, at the suburbs of New York City, and I was visiting my grandparents in the suburbs of New York City, except they were actually in the suburbs. I think he was in Queens or something like that. But my sister had dark hair, and some of the victims so far had dark hair, and I was like, he's gonna kill my sister. I was little, I didn't know anything. But anyway, they made a movie, Spike Lee made a movie called Summer of Sam, and it's sort of a stylized take on that summer and those things happening surrounding that. But anyway, the Adrian Brody character, who plays like sort of a weird kind of, I don't know, I think he's kind of a stripper. But he's doing this act, and he's dancing, and he's being all gross. But he holds up a knife with a single, like a thumb stud or an opening hole. And this is taking place in 1976 or 78, whenever David Berkowitz was killing people. But it was in the 70s before we ever saw a Spidey hole or a thumb stud. But in this movie, the prop master just didn't think it was important. So he just I remember watching that movie and just being like, all right, because at the time I was like into film, and I wanted to make films, and I was like, yeah, watching it for all of it's like, it's well shot, and the acting is good, and the scripting. And then I saw that, and I was like, oh, that's bullshit. Like, this is suddenly I'm ripped out of the movie, and that kind of thing makes a difference. It really does. It's like, I'm sure it's like anyone who served in the military watching a war movie, or anyone who has seen combat watching combat on TV. Like, that's not how it happens. And you would never have the thing here, and everyone does this. And, it's gotta be awful, being a warrior and watching warriors, or watching actors pretend to be warriors. Anyway, Lynn Thompson versus Greg Medford. Who wins in a fight? Lynn Thompson. I'd say Lynn Thompson. A battle of wits. Greg Medford. But a battle, mano a mano, or knife on knife, I say Lynn Thompson. No offense, Greg Medford. Acid Test Kid says The Strider on Netflix. It was the Love, Death, and Robots on the episode in Vaulted Halls and Tombs. That's cool. Yeah, that is a series that my wife was just showing me last night. Like, let's watch this. I'm like, okay, that looks good. APOC is the company that makes the Survival Yatagan. They make tactical swords. Okay, then I am going to have to remember this. So tactical swords. Oh, all right. It's slowly coming back to me. I think I've seen these. Nomadic says yes. They is the name of the movie. Badass and True, a man can never be in. Oh, okay. Wait a second. Yes, is the name. That is the name of the movie. Badass and True, a man can never be in the military yet work as a contractor for DO. Interesting. Matthew Hall says, excuse me, just had a little brain lock there. Matthew Hall says, think I have like 7 knives, a few daggers, and about 10 swords. That's a solid collection. Only like 4 guns, though. Pretty good for licensed Englishmen in the UK. Right on. Whatever the F they're calling us now. Matthew Hall, well, a special greeting from us to you. My wife lived over there for a while. We have some friends from Great Britain, or whatever the hell we're calling you now. And yeah, well, cool. I'm really, really happy to hear that you have all that you have over there. That's good news. This old sword says, gotta set you up with a cleaver blade, Bob. Then point breaks will be quelled. That's true, man. You know what? Like, The Cleaver 2 from Off Grid Knives has a little bit of a tip. I bet I could break that. But the Sheepdog, you might be right about that. By the way, Dave, you got to go check out Dave's channel, This Old Sword Blade Reviews. He's got the collection that I want. I mean, mine in addition to his. He's got some unreal, amazing stuff. And lately, he's been on a tear, getting some really, really awesome custom fixed blades. Go check out Dave, This Old Sword Blade Reviews. Acid Test Kid says, I believe Dirk Pinkerton is making a smaller model of the Night Horse later this year. That would be cool. That would be cool, but I'm going to stick to the big one. Then again, you don't know how cool this might look compressed, you know. What a great knife. So Smoky Mountain Knife Works is the only place. This is an exclusive to Smoky Mountain Knife Works, I discovered when purchasing. Top's Punisher was was in one of the Punisher movies. Couple of different Punisher movies, and I've liked them all, actually. But it was the one that doesn't have John Travolta in it. Me with Kids says, or Me with Kids. Sorry about that. Me with Knives says Benchmade 42 in Kick-Ass. Yeah, that's on here too. Which, and I can never remember her name. Zoe or Chloe's something is the actress, and she was like 10 or something, and she flipped that ballet song so beautifully. I remember being like, oh, someday when I have a daughter. Protect TR5 Apex says Protect TR5 and Tops Mini Scandi. Such great knives. Okay, as we chit chat, before I show you a knife I really want to show you, let me show you this beautiful sight right here on the under the cam. These are the four. Oh God, I'm such a reject. These are the 5 blade shapes for the XL Voyager. I do have another one of these serrated special edition. Hey, Jeremy, good to have you here, sir. Jeremy Nedro joins us. So I'm really happy to have this assemblage, or this whole team back together. Now, it got me immediately feeling like now I have to get every other Voyager ever made. And I was thinking about getting all of the larges, which would mean I'd have to get one of these and one of these back. I used to have one, I gave it away or sold it, and get one of these. But there's no point in doing that because they don't have the 4-inch Chris model. So if they came out with 5 large versions in these 4 instead of just 4 versions of the large, then I would have to go. It would be a moral imperative, and I would have to buy them. But as it stands, I think I'll just stay happy with what I got here. John Smith says, in the Lightbringer books by Brent Weeks, one of the main characters carries a Yatagan as her primary weapon. That's how I learned about them. Ooh, that's cool. That's I love, that's, yeah. I love it when you can learn about something like that. I mean, especially something that you're very interested in, kind of incidentally like that. Happy Haptics EDC, good to have you here, sir. What up, you filthy animals? We were just quoting that movie. Flip Solo, good to have you here, man. Flip Solo, one of the winners from last week. I believe I sent you a message asking for your... I keep getting them kickbacks. Yeah, send them to theknifejunkie@gmail.com. I think I've been spammed to death on that one because I've heard a couple of people mention that. And I got to figure out how to go into the base and empty it out because when I go, well, whatever, doesn't matter. Jeremy Nedro says, I was carrying the Max Ace Goliath and the QSP Nestmook, the Spyderco Stretch 2 in K390, and a Case Sodbuster. I love the Sodbuster. Funny thing about the Case Sodbuster is that the ones in bone are kind of technically not Sodbusters if you're going to be a total dork about it. And I'll tell you why. A Sodbuster is supposed to have a very big pivot. It's a working man's field knife, a working person's field knife, and you got to have a lot of lateral stability. And one of the ways it does that is with a big pivot. So that means that Sodbusters usually have some sort of synthetic handle when possible. Delrin or micarta or G10, I guess, but micarta and Delrin mostly, because the material has to be strong enough, but in small enough sections so that you can have a large pivot come close to the end without cracking off. Wood and bone are not good at that, but they do have jigged bone sodbusters from Case. So when you look at the jig bone sodbuster from Case, it does not have a big pivot like a sodbuster should have. It has actually a very small pivot. It's like a little gold. It looks like a little brass nubbin, so that it's the hole that you have to drill to put that in there isn't too close to the edge, which makes it prone to cracking. Tree stabbing Tony, good to have you here. Tree stabbing Tony. Is that okay? That's your dog. I was like, is that a dog or a horse? I think it's just the size difference. Flip Solo. I got the S90V Benchmade Altitude in black. I love talking about 9DV. Oh, wait, black. That I love talking about 9DV. That's funny, man. Well, what about it? Let me know. Let me know what I'm supposed to be looking for here in performance. Will B says Factor 5th pocket with the Baton 3. Norseman right pocket. Begleiter XL back right. Aluris back left. Ronin 2 cross draw. And Exo on belt on right. Jesus. I like this, man. I like the cut of your jib, Will B, because obviously from this layout, you're kind of thinking like I do, because it's like, well, what if my right hand gets chopped off, or what if I'm pinned to the ground with it? I need at least one that's accessible with my left hand or my offhand, and at least one if I'm laying on my stomach that's in my back pocket, or if I'm on my back, there's something up front. That's why I don't like scout carry on the lower back. I feel like if you were pushed down somehow or tackled and landed on your back, it would hurt or potentially be very damaging to have that cross draw right there at the base of your spine. Ooh, coming down hard on that. But also seems like it'd be easier to get, even if you're struggling or on your belly, might be easier to get to a blade if it's up front. That arcane antimatter is sick. I'm jealous. Yes, I love this thing. I think you can still get them, or maybe not. Maybe not. I think he does drops seasonally. But yeah, love this thing. This also came in a couple of different colorations, including a beautiful Damascus with black handle. That was very nice looking. Knife Junkie, your Cold Steel Tonto was in Red Dawn. Yeah. Like the actual one almost. Yeah, that my Cold Steel Tonto is so old. And still great, still works, but they've changed a little bit. Like well, first of all, the pommel isn't in brass anymore, and the guard isn't in brass anymore. I believe that they've changed that to aluminum. But the yokote, I think it's called. And I say that and it doesn't sound right, but I'm pretty sure that's what I've heard Lynn Thompson call it. But this secondary point, I think he called it the yokote. And you like my little accent there. But anyway, this, what was I even saying? Oh, yes, this is rounded off on my old one, whereas the new ones are very crisp. Now, I'm not sure if I rounded it with all the years I had it and didn't use it too much, but, stropped and sharpened on occasion. I'm not sure if I rounded it out or if in the old days that was a little rounder. Luis Rodriguez, good to have you here, Luis. Terminator 2, the United Cutlery double-edged stiletto with the finger guard ring. Yes, I remember that. I used to have a little obsession with finger guard rings because of Lou Diamond Phillips in Young Guns. He was the knife guy, and I was like, man, if I was in a posse like that, I'd be the knife guy. Of course, I'd have a gun, of course, but I'd have knives all over me, be festooned with them like he was. Well, there's a shot, I think, where you're riding through town, it's slow motion, and you're seeing the Young Guns, and they're all kind of standing there, looking cool, doing whatever they're doing, And Lou Diamond Phillips is standing there. He's got a Bowie with a ring, and he's like flipping this big Bowie around the ring. And I thought, oh my God, is there anything cooler than that? So yeah, I had a ring thing for a long time, and now I don't know. I'd have to, the right ring Bowie would have to present itself. Now rings, I'm a little ring phobic, honestly, when it comes to knives anyway. Jeremy says, the end of V for Vendetta was badass. Yeah, I am trying to remember exactly what those scenes were more, but yeah, but wait, what is this? The Mortal Instruments had zombie tool swords. I know zombie tool swords. What's the Mortal? Oh, I know what that is. That's something in our queue. Okay, I want to show you this. This right here. This is a my first custom kitchen knife. Did you guys watch the Steve Kalari interview or listen? Steve Kalari Custom Knives, Super Steel Steve. That's how you may know him. He made this, and he's been making kitchen knives. And oh my goodness, LMAO. Bob can't proofread well yet. Well, I got to proofread in real time, man. I got to proofread in real time. FEMA Camp Etiquette for Dummies. Good to see you here. Are you familiar with the Riot Exo Gravity Knife? I am indeed. As a matter of fact, Will B was commenting earlier, was carrying one today. Yeah, very, very cool. I I think, yeah, I held one and used one very briefly at Blade Show. I can't remember if it was someone's or if it was at the Riot table. That would be a cool one to have. It is somewhat low. Dick Trickle, NASCAR. There's something weird about that, and I'll talk about that in a second. Dick Trickle, Chinatown. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, great movie. You know what happens to nosy fellas? They lose their noses. Next time I cut it off and feed it to my fishes. That's Roman Polanski, great director, kind of crappy human being, but delivering those lines wonderfully. Going back to Jim, you got to go back a couple of comments as I talk about this. Actually, this does look like the maroon micarta we agreed on, but during polishing and stuff, it kind of got, yeah, Dick Trickle. Who is this? What does this mean? A and B. This is odd because I remember once when I was home visiting my folks, my dad got a random solicitation in the mail from a pastor named Dick Trickle. And of course, I showed it to my brother and we cracked up because we thought that was a funny name. But what did that comment mean? I'm curious. Brandon Sutton says, The Night Comes For Us has awesome knife fights. Ooh, what's that? And it's even better than the Raid. Whoa, okay. The Night Comes For Us. So, all right, let me talk about this for a second. So this knife, this is made of 8760, which is a blade steel that I don't think is proprietary, but it's not very common, and it's one that they really push at Pops, the famous knife shop in in Georgia, where Andy Roy of Fiddleback Forge, he's a part owner, and and a couple of other knife makers who slip my mind right now are owners. So yeah, it's a knife shop by knife makers for knife makers. That's where Steve Kalari gets his stuff. Steve is part of a knife makers guild in Georgia. Has learned quite a bit pretty quickly. This thing is okay. Here's one of those annoying things people say about knives. This is like a laser beam, dude. It's a laser beam. That's almost as annoying as that's not a knife, but nothing approaches. That's not a knife. This thing is very, very, very thin, blade stock, and then as you can tell, it's fully flat ground. It's a broad. What is it? A 2-inch wide blade, fully flat ground from very, very thin stock. It is super, super sharp. I mean, like you can barely see the cutting edge. It's so thin behind that edge. I can't remember what he quoted. I think he said 5 thousandths I guess I could pull out my calipers, but it doesn't matter. What matters is how it cuts, and holy mackerel. So tonight, I've done a lot of vegetable prep with it so far, and it works great. People always talk about tomatoes. I think peppers are even the skin on peppers require an even sharper knife. Yes, tomatoes are softer, so the bad cut results in more of a disaster. But in terms of actual slicing, I feel like a pepper skin is slightly more resistant. Anyway, so this has been doing uh, uh, fruit and vegetable duty for lunches and dinners, and just oh my gosh, it goes through fruits, it goes through vegetables like they're not even there. But tonight was the first time I cut meat with it, and it was chicken. So I know some people consider that a vegetable, but I cut meat with it, and he said, "Oh man, when you cut like a hot steak or like roast beef with it, it will patina the blade a nice bluish hue." I've been starting a patina on this. I don't rush to clean it when it's done, but I'm not forcing. I'm not wrapping it in paper towels soaked in vinegar or anything to try and force it. But you can see it. It's starting to come slowly but surely. And in a month or two, this thing is going to be looking so seasoned. He does a beautiful job, man. I'm very, very pleased with this. And just so you know, I ordinarily don't talk money on this podcast or on this show. I think it's kind of gauche, but I only paid $185 for this knife. And I said to him in the podcast, oh, I'm glad I got in on the ground floor because I got this great knife for inexpensive, but I know as you get better, you're going to start charging more and more. And he's like, nope, that's not how I'm structuring it. He's like, as a food service professional, he was a chef for many years in fine French dining. Now he manages a restaurant or manages food. I can't remember exactly what he does, but he wants his knives in the hands of line cooks and chefs, and he wants it to be something that they can afford. And this is about in that wheelhouse, because you can be getting MacGyver with his Swiss Army knife, no doubt. You can get into very, very, very big dollars with chef's knives, but then who's using them? They're not using those in professional kitchens. They're using those in fancy uptown kitchens, next to the Wolf stove that they're going to be taken away from you because it's gas very soon. If we're not careful, they'll fucking do any. These people will try and get away with anything. Do not let them take your gas stove. All right. Blame Dexter says, one thing I don't like about most movies with bally songs is that they almost always use the most basic open that you can learn in 20 minutes. Okay, Blame Dexter. Okay. All right. So here's the thing, though. In most movies, I would venture to say the bally song is being used in a defensive or, combative way. So you're not going to be doing all the bally boy stuff and like flipping it up and doing all that stuff. You're going to open it up as quickly as possible so you have that knife to bear. But I totally get it. I totally get it. There are ways to make a flashier open without doing all the aerobatics and all the stuff that they do. That's funny. Streets of Fire is why I bought a bally song at 14 years old. That's cool. What do you have now, Shane? Do you have any other ballies besides that one? Old school but memorable knife fight in The Outsiders, and I don't even remember the knife fight, but I remember another bally song scene. I remember Matt Dillon in bed. Let's do it for Johnny. Do it for Johnny. Well, he flicks open he's laying in bed and he clicks open his bally song right there. I always, in my memory, I thought it was a switchblade until I rewatched it. I don't know, many years ago. Danny Trejo in literally everything. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree. But especially Desperado. Apex Grind, The Predator, shaving with the fixed blade. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Predator was awesome. I love that movie so much. And Commando. No one has mentioned Commando, but that's also a great knife movie because of the knife he used. That one was the Lyle life support system, I believe. John Smith, in The Winter Soldier, Bucky fights Captain America with a Gerber Mark II. That's right. Gerber Mark IIs show up. Let's see where else. We mentioned Aliens. There's one of the Marvel movies or one of the superhero movies where the guy from Law and Order, the Italian guy with the bald head, he holds up a Gerber Mark II at some supervillain. I don't remember. Bob, Last House on the Left is disturbing. Don't watch with your daughters. Okay, I won't. You know, I don't mind. As a matter of fact, I'll be 100% honest. If it's well done, I like violence in movies. But what I don't like is cruelty and torture. Yeah. Cruelty and torture, I don't like watching. Buck 118 in Scream. Yes. In the, well, I didn't see Scream, but I do remember the movie posters. 10V has been fantastic. Highly recommended. The Winkler axes in Terminal List were so cool. Yeah, those Winkler axes were developed in collaboration with, and I always forget the gentleman's name, but he was a guru, or still is, with the SIOC Kali system. So that's the SIOC tomahawk. So cool, with the extra little spike up here and the spike in the back and the bearded blade and the small multi-use haft. Very cool. I got a chance to pick one up at Blade Show 2 years in a row, but you know, just kind of like hold it like this, and what I really wanted to do, but can't do that. You can't do that, but the Bally Song guys can walk around flipping. Actually, I think they've kind of restricted that a bit. Nomadic Adventure says some rangers will not use a Winkler because it's known as a seal tomahawk. Man, that makes some durable. Man makes some durable tools. That is so funny. Some rangers will not use a Winkler because it's known as a seal tomahawk. I was about to say that's ridiculous, but I don't even know. I don't even know, man. Yeah, I could see that. I didn't serve in the armed forces, so I don't know those enmities. But yeah, I could also see you wanting to have your own weapon. It's like the which one is it? Help me. The Chris Reeve knife, the Chris Reeve Bill Harsey knife that they give to Green Berets. Something like that. You wouldn't want that knife if you were a SEAL, because that's what the Green Berets get. I see that. Bob Winkler did Jack Carray's podcast right after. Oh yeah, Jack Carr's podcast right after yours. You're kind of a big deal. No, the funny thing is right after I did my Winkler interview, I tried, you know, I've been trying to get Jack Carr on for a while, but I've never gotten any response. I don't know his agent, and I don't know the proper channels, but I did, after I did the Winkler interview, I sent him, I DM'd him a copy of, hey, I know you like these, you inspired me to talk to this guy, blah, 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 whatever, hoping he'd see that and be like, oh man, that's great. I'd love to come on your show and talk. But I did that, sent it off, and then the next week he does his, and it's this beautifully shot in the field in his shop, and they make a tomahawk and do like, and I was like, oh, okay, well, he had his access was, well, yeah, he doesn't want to watch mine, but anyway, yeah, that was cool. James says Reacher used a Benchmade Griptilian in the Amazon miniseries. Oh yeah, I'm gonna look like that by summer. That's it, Jack Reacher by summer. Apex Grind says Texas Chainsaw, Franklin's slip joint, 1970s. LOL, the hitchhiker cuts his hand with it. That's awesome, Franklin. Speaking of which, actually, before I put this away, highly recommend look up SCC's Steve Kalari Customs or Super Steel Steve. I think he might still have that channel. And if you're interested in getting a kitchen knife custom made for your kitchen, well, check him out. He's got 4 different models, I believe. What I was going to say next was, did anyone see someone, I can't remember who it was, someone in my Instagram feed showed this. Anyone remember this? and he has his 110, and he does this whole quick, really well practiced and quick one-handed opening of this and going into a defensive posture with the original tactical folder, the Buck 110. Such a cool knife. There's so many great knives that we move beyond because there are a lot of great new things. But man, I still love this Buck 110. Have a Knife Day says, I just bought a Blackjack Knives Model 5 black canvas micarta produced by Bark River. Man, learning about more makers lately and having good times in the learning. That is awesome. I think I know which the Model 5, that is the which one is the Model 5? Roman Polanski used a knife on Jack Nicholson's nose with dramatic effect in Chinatown. James, I was just talking about it. I was doing my Roman Polanski impression and everything. Next time I cut it off and feed it to my fishes. Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite movie of all time. I love that movie. Got a big poster in the bathroom right over there. Apex Grind said, the good old days when 420 was super steel. LOL, heat treatment is everything. The movie Blade Trinity. Yes, indeed. Not only is heat treat everything, but these things are ground so nicely. Hollow grind, really sharp blade. Yeah, these things are awesome. JN says, nothing beats a quantum possible sword. All right, what's that? Quantum possible sword? Is that like from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or something? Chris Pratt in Jurassic World uses the JW Hero knife made by. I was wondering what that knife was. Okay, now Brandon, if you're a fan of that knife or anyone out there who is, please do not take offense at this. But I thought the knife was a little plain and diminutive. I mean, we're talking about a freaking dinosaur movie. You know, dinosaurs, it's like integrating into the world, which whatever. But I thought that the knife was a little underwhelming. I love that he has it on him all the time. He carries it in Scout and everything, and he pulls it out. But there was a scene where he pulled it out, and I can't remember why, but it was obviously inadequate for the situation. But it also looked inadequate for the situation. So it should have been a big Bowie. Come on, it should be a big Bowie, not a drop point. Drop points aren't cinematic. Tontos are cinematic. Bowies are trailing points, like things that are dramatic to look at, things with diagonal lines and sweeping movements. But a drop point, it's just not compelling. Prove me wrong. The cold steel blade with the pointer finger and pinky ring. Oh, the double agent is the double agent. Thank you. Yeah, double agent for the double rings. Beefer Baron. Good to have you here, Beefer Baron. Hi, fellas, he says. Well, hello to you, sir. Hope you're having a good night. Have a Knife Day says, I've been watching the black and white Jim Bowie television. So I started that too a while back, but never finished it. From back in the day, they were careful not to show the knife in any real action, but they'd shoot someone. Still a treat to watch. Yeah, I read a quick blurb about that where the actor blamed that on why that show didn't succeed, because they would show off the knife and he'd use the knife to do something like what I saw was like there was some bad guy and he threw the Bowie knife and pinned him to the wall, because with his jacket, like the knife stuck his jacket to the wall, and that's how the knife was used. But they never showed him disemboweling anyone or nearly decapitating someone with it, which is the kind of thing that happens when you swing a Bowie knife and hit a human body. But a very cool knife too. That the hero knife in that show is beautiful. First time I saw a Strider was in a video game in Metal Gear Solid 4. The character Vamp has a Strider Valkyrie. I'm unfamiliar with that. Probably one of the fixed blades, I imagine. And all of his knife. I'm sorry. We should go back to that. And all of his knives are Strider 2. Is what led me to be infatuated with Striders. Okay, Acid Test Kid. Do you know the Tiger? Is it called the Tiger? It is really crazy early Strider. It's the first exposure I ever had to Strider. I remember I was in San Francisco in a bookshop, and I picked up a book of knives, and it was more like a bound. It was like a book, but like a bound editions of a magazine, but I don't know what it was. Beautiful, but it had a whole spread on the Strider. I think it was called the Tiger. Look that thing up. You probably know what I'm talking about, but it is an insane looking knife. It is so cool. That would be a grail for any Strider collector, no doubt. Robert Mitchum's Switchblade is a classic in Night of the Hunter. I come not with peace, but with a sword. Ooh, I keep hearing that I need to watch Night of the Hunter. A guy at work has told me that a number of times. Tuco with the cold steel in Breaking Bad. I don't think that's a cold steel, man. I know what you're talking about. Boom, where he slams that big Bowie into the table. I've paused. If you know something different, let me know. But I'm pretty sure that's not a cold steel. It's something else and something really cool, though. Mike Glover carried a Strider Fixie through his whole SOF career. Soldier of Fortune career? Mike Glover. Did Chavez have one or two Bowies in Young Guns? Yeah. One or two. I don't know. Don't remember. I know he had the Bowie with the because it was so cool. Speaking of so cool, I got to show some of these real quick. Check these out. Okay. I got Byron Kennedy. Thank you, man. Wow. $10 super chat. That's awesome. Junkie flew in from Indiana to Arizona to visit grandkids. Arms are tired. Oh, that's cool, man. Family is everything. Too many granddad jokes. Story bots and tea and cookies. Need a Bowie fix. Help. Thanks. All right. Bowie fix. Which one shall it be? I'm ready for it. You know what? I'll just, since this is my most recent and the one that I just keep going to during my early morning exercise. So the Wild West Bowie. I'm gonna salute you with this Wild West Bowie because I'm just so into it. But I gotta, while I'm showing it, this is the cold steel, and I want to show it off with the original W49 Western Bowie. My copy is from a pawn shop. My brother bought it. It's dated 1980. I can tell from the D marking on the Ricasso. Also looks like the bad MFer who had this hammered this thick piece of brass down, maybe to protect his knuckle more, and then replaced the handle with some anonymous creepy bone. So that's that. But it's quite a bit smaller than the cold steel. I just wanted to show that off because I wasn't aware of that until I got them both in hand. I mean, I knew just from the specs, but looking at them, you can see, ooh, that's not comfortable. All right. Putting this back on the wall where it goes. All right, sir. This is for you, Byron. Thank you so much. And enjoy your grandkids while you're out there in Arizona. But don't forget about the Bowie knife. And I'm sure, actually, they might like them. A couple young boys from the neighborhood were here with their family. We've been hanging out with the parents, and one of the parents, oh, you should go look at Bob's man cave, and the two kids walked in here, and it was like, oh my god, yeah, it was cool. So I'm thinking your grandkids might be similar. Anyway, this is for you, Byron. Thank you so much for your generosity, sir, and your comments always come in. I love them and appreciate them. Here's to you, sir. All right. And not for nothing, it comes in a great leather sheath. I love the leather sheath, though it is a dangler, and I do have issues with that. You can always batten it down there and have just a regular sheath. JN, this is making me want to get out more knives. Is that okay? Am I okay? Yes. Oh, that's so funny. That reminds me of once my wife was telling me, and we lived in New York. We had a place that we would get a massage right down the street. She went a lot. I'd go every once in a while. And she was in there one day, and she heard coming from another stall. It was stalls, and she heard coming from another stall. She heard a guy say, was that wrong? Did I do something wrong? And my wife was, instantly vomitous. She's like, oh, this guy's over there thinking he's in a different place, thinking he's a different kind of establishment. John Smith says, in the MacGyver remake, there is a scene where Jack runs out of bullets, pulls out a CRKT M16 Tonto, and says to his team, you know what they say, boys, blood makes the grass grow. God, that's corny. That is some corny shiznit. What about the Indiana Jones knife fight? That wasn't. Oh, Weston. That is a good one, man. That is a real good one. That's true. The guy comes out with the sword, and that whole scene embodies like, yeah. That's the main mentality of most people. It's like, so I post a short of me showing where I carry my knife, and people are like, why are you carrying a knife to a gunfight? And I said, like, when did I say I was going to a knife fight or a gunfight? I'm just showing you how I carry my knife, man. Samuel Jackson Folder in Hateful Eight. I'm embarrassed to say I have never gotten through the Hateful Eight. As a DeMarco male, it is my birthright to fall asleep when watching movies, even really good ones that I like. And that one I have yet to be conscious through. But I love the first like 30 minutes of that movie. I've seen it like 7 times. Weston Probe says, I'm sorry, can you go back? I read that Ford had a bad case of diarrhea and asked Spielberg for a quick fight and end the scene. That's funny. That's hilarious, man. Never Enough Knives 007 says that thumb stud you could screw on a buck 110 is pretty old. Not sure if it goes back to the Son of Sam days, but maybe. No, sir. You raise an interesting point. I think you're talking about this. How old? We got to find this out, because Never Enough Knives, you do raise an interesting point. I was not thinking about this, but now I got to go back and look, because I also remember thinking the knife itself looked wrong. Like, it didn't look like it was not a buck 110 being opened with one thumb. It was like a tactically knife. Now I'm going to have to find that. I'm going to have to find that scene, but that's a good point. Homework. Cold Steel introduced the knife game to me. The old Recon in OS 8, so damn good. Now everyone wants Magna Cut. He laughed. You know, my first Recon one in clip point in OS 8 is still my backpack folder, my main backpack folder. And the cool thing about that is those old OS 8 Recon ones, it's like they spray painted the blade. You know, that the coating was terrible. So all you needed was this solvent called aircraft stripper or something like that. And the stuff comes right off. And underneath those OS 8 blades are beautifully stonewashed. They look gorgeous. And yeah, there's no need to get rid of your OS 8 blades. Dissentian 01, Bob, check out the Tarantino movie called 4 Rooms. I do remember that. The closing scene has a hatchet as sharp as the devil himself. I do. Was that was the one with the guy that keeps cutting off fingers with the cleaver? Was that 4 Rooms? John Smith says the Pennyworth show is about Alfred from Batman. Okay. Right after he got out of the SAS. It had a lot of cool knife fights with Fairbairn style daggers. Ooh, that's cool. Pennyworth. Okay. So check these out. Speaking of cool, these are 2 new knives that Carrie of Off Grid sent me to check out, and I'm going to be giving one of them away, and I'm keeping one of them for my damn self. I will keep the black wash one for myself, because I think this is overall the one that will be less appealing to the general public. I think most people go for the stone wash if possible. But anyway, it's a beautiful full flat ground drop point, very broad blade, nice ergonomics. I mean, this thing is so comfortable in hand. I could see this being one that you could use all day long. I mean, you could do all sorts of camp chores with this. This is like light batoning, food prep, carving, Yeah, just stout, and I really like it. This is I got to be honest. This is not a knife that I have seen this before, but not one that I was motivated to get myself. But he sent them to me, which I greatly appreciate. And sometimes seeing is believing, or holding in hand is believing. We have an affiliate link. Check it out, thenifejunkie.com/offgrid. If you want to buy one of these or anything from them, it kicks back. I guess that's not the right word to use, but it's a kickback. And I get a little bit of, couple of cents or something like that if you purchase a knife. Next, these other two he sent me 4 knives, and I'm going to give one of these away as well, but not this one. This is the baby rhino in, I think they're calling, what are they calling this? Well, anyway, it's a coyote tan handle with the gray wash blade. It is beautiful and looks a lot like a couple. Well, they have a whole series now of them in this coloration, and I love it. And my wife has the gray on gray baby rhino, and she's been using that one a lot recently. I have the black wash, so I figure I will keep this one, you know, for research purposes. No, just to kind of have all of the baby rhinos. But I will be giving this next one away, which just shows an incredible amount of very, very enviable discipline on my part. And that is this. I will be giving this away at some point. And I'm not sure if it'll be a gentleman junkie giveaway or what, but this is the Rhino V2, the full size in that 154 cm blade steel. Amazing action, and then that gorgeous coloration, coyote tan and gray wash. So I'm really, really, really stoked on these gray wash and tan versions. And then the V2 versions of everything they're putting out are awesome. They're just listening. Kerry listens to customer feedback and he incorporates it into his refreshed designs. Well, guys, that about does it. I'm going to take the next couple of minutes to bid you a fond farewell. This has been a really good night. I kind of feel like I started one sentence 2 hours ago, and that sentence is wrapping up right about, now. I feel, yeah. They can have my gas stove when they pry it from my cold, dead hands. Piss on the snowflakes. Hey, Dion, I could not agree more with you, sir. They're just looking for other ways to control. They don't give a crap about anyone's health. Come on. Chicago 23, Microtech, John Wick. Yes, sir. Agreed. Nomadic Adventures, the axe-wielding hitchhiker come out in Netflix. True story. I was reading about that. Bizarre story. And it just goes to show how people can get so swept up in superficial. Land Rover Day. Good to have you here, Land Rover Day. Why are they called drop points? Well, because the spine takes a drop to the point as opposed to a let me see. Let me find a good one here. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. As opposed to a clip point where that drop curve is clipped out. So you have a clip point or a drop point. Spear point is kind of like a drop point, except the actual point is lower, and the spine and the cutting edge are symmetrical, so it looks more like a spear. I don't know if that's more information than you wanted, but yeah, a drop point is just a basic where the point is not trailing and it's not at the very top of the spine. It's not a total flat spine, and it's not clipped, but it is a drop point because it drops to the point. All right. Well, I feel good about that. Oh, wait, here's a great example of an awesome drop point. I've had it out before. This is one, I mean, ordinarily, I'm like, oh, drop point. That's the most boring blade. But when they came out with the Voyager XL with this drop point, it looks so much like a barong. I had to buy it. Trevor Tan says, do you have a butterfly knife? I do. It's locked up in my case. A Bally song. I do not have the Chinese butterfly knives. Green Beret Special Operations Force. Oh, okay. SOF. Okay. I said Soldier of Fortune. That's very different, isn't it? Well, yeah, very different. Okay. Acetes Kid says the Strider Tiger. I haven't seen it before, just looked it up, and wow, it is the most wicked boomerang ever. I love it. Yes, I saw that. I remember seeing that and just being like amazed at what I was looking at. In Breaking Bad, when the skaters fake getting hit by the car and Tuco's grandma is driving, he pulls out, an Espada large in S35. Oh, cool. Okay. All right. I was thinking you were talking about the state scene. Flip Solo says the 2049 Blade Runner knife is pretty cool. A Robert Amsler design. I'm going to have to look that one up. I don't remember that one. Thanks for the awesome show again, Bob. Jim, night, everybody, says Chris. Good night, Blade Ogre. Have a wonderful night, sir. See you later, everybody, says Brandon. Brandon, have a great night. Will be night to you, sir. Thanks for everything. Nomadic Adventures, man, some beautiful blades. Well, I'm glad you were here. I'm glad you joined us. And, join me here again next week. And don't forget about our Sunday interview show. Okay, for Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, don't take dull for an answer.